Tonight at 5, not some good news here. Your electric bill could be going up again. In fact, we're learning Eversource may ask for another rate increase.
Meanwhile, the company is saying it must reduce spending and cut back on improvements. Your chief political reporter, Susan Raff, is live at Eversource headquarters in Berlin, where the utility company made its case today. Susan.
Aaron, Eversource certainly made their case today. In an unprecedented move, they invited members of the media to come here to their Berlin headquarters. Today's meeting lasted 2 hours, and in that time, Eversource laid out their case of why they need more money to make capital improvements. They had plenty of blame for PURA, that's the state regulatory commission that oversees regulatory rules. They say that PURA has made bad decisions, and that has cost them, and that they need more money to make those capital improvements. And they say if they do not get more money and things don't change, they may have to ask for a rate increase.
The regulator is coming out with decision after decision, prioritizing lower rates over the quality of service. And so when that happens, the utilities are left with no other option but to reduce the level of infrastructure investment to match the level of rates that are being provided for through the regulatory outcomes.
Now, it's important to point out here, and this is a critical point, that Eversource doesn't generate electricity. They buy power, and they say that supply is expensive, particularly for states like Connecticut, which favor going green. But some state lawmakers are upset because Eversource sent letters out to town leaders and lawmakers pretty much saying that if things don't change, they're going to cut back on these investments. Some lawmakers say that the company is making record profits and that executives are getting paid millions of dollars in bonuses. Coming up on Eyewitness News at 6, reaction from some of those state lawmakers, also state regulators, and can we put an end to this blame game? Your reporter, Susan Raff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News, live at Eversource in Berlin.